What's up, guys? This is Daveismedia, Dave Harding. I'm your host. Episode 7. We are still under quarantine, and this one is long distance. This is about a 2,500 mile away guest, somebody who I just met recently in Atlanta, right before all of this craziness happened, and we were grounded, if you will. We couldn't travel. That's Cody Flores, otherwise known as @CodePaints, and I think the cool part about you is that you're a painter, and that was the thing I learned like after the fact of knowing you as a videographer at Max's We Live event. But just give everybody a little background on like who you are and kind of what you're known for.
Yeah, sure, man. So real quick, my name is Cody, but I go by CODEPAINTS.
CODEPAINTS, got it.
Yeah, everybody just call, like, my best friend has been calling me Code my whole life, so I just was like, you know, why not run with that? And I have a bunch of funny clips, like going out drinking with him, and he'll try to give me stuff. Code, come on, Code, come on. So, anyways, yeah. So I'm from Southern California. Like I said, you said we met in Atlanta. I've been doing video stuff. I'm just messing with video camera since I was 13. I listened to your first podcast, and literally that's when I hit you up. I was like, man, we have such a similar story. Like, I've been a ball player my whole life, and and then also going to media, like wanting to emulate kind of like the Jackass videos, 4-in-1 VM skate tapes, like, you know,
skate tapes.
It's so funny, man. Like, I've been going through all this old footage. My mom found my old like 8mm like camera tapes, and
legit.
I know.
What kind of camera did you have, or was that? Are you saying that was a camera that they had like filming you?
Dude, I have it here on the ground. It's the
no way.
Sony like Handycam thing.
Yo, that's crazy. That is, I want to say, almost exactly the same camera I have. I have the High 8 Sony. I think it's either that one or one just like it.
Yeah, there's no flip screen on it, which is the funny part.
No flip screen. Okay, I have the flip screen, so it must be like just one generation later.
Probably. I know like shortly after that they started making them with them, because I was able to like review footage, but it's so funny, man, because like I was always that friend. Like, my buddies were like too cool to be on camera, you know what I mean? So I have all this footage of like
everybody.
Yeah, they're like, turn the camera off, man. I'm like, and then now all these years later, because like my best friend is still the one that calls me Code. We've lived across the street from each other since we were like 5, so a lot of the footage is with him, and I'm like, aren't you glad, dude? Like, I was rolling, because we have all these memories now saved.
You get to say, I told you so. You're like, see, I was ahead of the curve. I have all this great stuff. I will tell you a similar story. So my friend JC, who this tattoo is about, he passed away in 2012, and I was, obviously destroyed by it. But the best part was I had all this random footage of us in the neighborhood just doing just stupid shit. And I'm like, oh, this is so great. So I like had these clips, and like honestly, that was pretty therapeutic to get to like hear his voice again and like see him again. And just being able to go back to that clip anytime I want is like the best.
Dude, it's so weird that you say that, because literally those same clips, all those same tapes that I found, my best friend who I was just mentioning, his dad had passed away when we were in college, at Massachusetts guy, and I had just this 12-second clip. I haven't found any more, but it was just of him and his son Keith talking, and I sent that to him. I was like, dude, I can't believe I found this. And he's like, I haven't heard his voice in so long. And it's crazy that it can, the medium can just bring people back in that way, even for just that short clip.
It does bring them back, and that's so interesting, because before we started the podcast and we were just on the phone on FaceTime here, I mentioned to you that I just posted that video from 2013 when I was just recording Fly on the Wall with Nipsey Hussle and some other people in San Jose studio. And like the video is going crazy, obviously, because it's about a year since he passed. But just being fortunate enough to stand there, and then the thing that's been rewarding to me is seeing the comments of people like, Yo, bro, thank you so much for sharing this, because I got a chance to just watch this man in his element. Because I know it's footage that only like maybe 2 or 3 other people had seen up until the point I posted it like earlier this week. And you like are reviving people. It's so weird.
Yeah, there's never enough. Never enough. That's for anyone.
There's never enough. I never delete anything. So I'm curious to know kind of like your philosophy on making media, having a similar background. Obviously, I watched Jackass just because I was like, man, I feel like that's something I could film. I think that's why it like gave me permission. Like all I need is just handheld camera. Like I can do that. I don't need anything special.
Oh yeah. Sorry. So what was the question? Like what?
So just like what's your approach? And like maybe take me back to like when you realized, all right, like I'm the guy, I've always got a camera. Like when did you realize you were developing a style? Because for me, I was just kind of pointing it at stuff and I didn't really know what I was doing. And then I think somewhere around high school, I was like, oh, like you have like a style with this, like senior year of high school. And I started to develop like some snap zooms and some pans and, you know, like the digital cameras would do like a slow creep zoom. You couldn't do it fast.
Okay.
When did you realize that you could kind of have your own style with the camera and you weren't just pointing it at stuff anymore?
So yeah, like I was saying, I really didn't do too much filming in high school. I mean, I had my camera and I was messing around, but I mean, right around the time college hit, I started messing around with like Windows Movie Maker and just
classic.
Once I started going, like I just fell back in love with it, I guess. And then of course the cell phones just got better and better, and social media was becoming a thing. And so right around that time that I exited high school, I started a clothing company. And so I did that for like 10 years. And so within that span of time, I of course had to do my own marketing and do my own videos. And so I was just like, hey, I'm doing all this cool stuff. Like I'm going to really cool shows. I'm seeing all these dope bands. I'm being able to set up and they're wearing my shirts. I'm like, so then.
That's a cool feeling.
Yeah. So I was like, I need to document this, if not for social media, at least for like my own, because always having a camera, I really wanted to do that. So and then eventually I think I just found ways. There were apps, of course, Movie Maker, that's always been like just the easy go-to, and one thing, you know, after another, and slowly but surely I had friends that just kept on saying like, man, your edits are awesome. And then every time we'd go out for like a trip or something, I would make just a quick edit. I don't remember what Instagram was back then when it started, but like 30 seconds.
Right, it was like 15 seconds, and it was like 30 and 60.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's been the same thing with painting. It's like I think I just took influences from other people that I watched, and then just molded them all together. And then shortly after another, I was having my own style. You know.
So tell me about the painting. When was that something you picked up real early?
I mean, I've been painting technically, I guess, since I was a kid, but I didn't take it seriously until like a few years ago. I got laid off from a job, and I was an art director, and I got laid off, and then I found myself with a bunch of time, and I was like, you know what? Before that, I had a run for like a year, and I had a bunch of paintings that I was doing commissions for.
Nice.
And it was cool. It was great, but it also wasn't like my true style. I was kind of emulating somebody else, and I was like, this is cool, but in my heart, I just knew, I was like, I need to take a break. I'm not
it's kind of unfulfilled.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, the extra money is always nice. But then, so I had this time, and then I just had a bunch of these creative ideas. So I was like, you know what, let's just put it down on the canvas. And then one thing led to another, and I did like a leather jacket, and then I did, I go to Goodwill, and I'm getting like cool Transformers masks, painting that, and one thing led to another. And then, like I just said, for the video stuff, you start out by emulating other people, and then before you know it, it's like, okay, I know that technique. Now, what if I tried this? What if I combined it with this? And then before you know it, a year down the road, you're like, oh, this looks completely different from where I was, and now it's its own new thing. And I've really been enjoying doing that journey. And yeah, you kind of blink, and then you're like, oh wow, how did we get here?
seriously, I look back and now, you know, I've only been working with Max for about a year. For those that don't know, Max Maxwell, who I brought up, wholesale real estate. Code, I guess I gotta call you Code now.
Yeah,
right?
do it.
You're
a friend.
I just like that, Code.
Yeah.
So Code and I have that similar background where we work for someone else, but we still have all this time to explore our passion projects and stay fulfilled. And honestly, in this time, it's such a blessing to have that balance, because a lot of people were relying on one thing, and now they're just in a point where they're like, I don't know, what do I do? Do I go after the thing that I know I'm good at, that I know I can make money at? Or for us, lucky for us, we do both. We're good at the thing we love to do, and we're still getting paid.
Yeah.
You know, so I just want to say that so people understand kind of the bigger business link between us. But I wanted to ask more of like an artistic question, which is, you know, when you're making content, is content art? Or here's the second part of it, because I think like, is there like a clear delineation between art and content? Like where do you draw the line? What's different? What's the difference between content and art?
I think in a way, absolutely content's art. It depends on kind of what you're going for. For like what we do in like wholesale real estate and stuff, it's like when you look at it, you might not think like art at all. The art and business, it just seems so out of the box. But then when you dive deeper and like, especially like I kind of talked to you before about now being in quarantine, like, okay, we had a limited number of shots, maybe because I had just joined Scott not that long ago, but using what I had, you know, and then I'd combine it with, you know, text quotes, and then I'd try and because I'm also a graphic designer, so I'd pull in like,
and I saw you did that logo, which is dope.
So I made him his own logo, and now I'm combining it, so photos with digital elements, so that is an art itself, digital art, you know what I mean? So it's like you can combine so many different mediums, and of course video, that's its own art, you know, the way you combine it. I think that's always
lost, right? I feel like for a long time I did not feel like an artist, because all I'm doing is like, it's like very much a production. It's like you would do, it's like assembly line in my head. Even if you're the only one doing all the processes, you're like, all right, I gotta plan it, I gotta script it, I gotta shoot it, and then we're gonna edit, and like, it seems like more assembly line. But within the assembly, you have these little moments to like add this finesse or add this color pop or do something with the transition that maybe you're the only one that really cares about or notices.
Totally.
But it adds, and so I think after somebody gets done watching a video, they think, wow, that was dope, or like, that was a cool production, and they can't really tell you why, but all those little instances of art where you can inject it, you know, into business content like that, I think that's what brings people back. I would like to think it does.
Oh my gosh, dude, like I love what you just said, because even if it's just enough for yourself, you know, to like kind of keep that spark going. There was this one bit in one of Scott's Driving for a Dollar videos where I made this like 8-bit looking gem, right? Kind of like from an old school video game. And he did say this part in his video that sounded like really smart. I was like, you know, I'm still getting the lingo of what he's talking about. Like sometimes I feel like I don't fully understand, but I'm like, that sounds I'm like, that sounds like something these people would want to know. So then I put that in and I made it, you know, pop up and down. It was like Scott Oots knowledge gem, and I thought that was super cool, and I was ordering around people in the office like, check this out, this is so sick. It was like, so I'm totally like geeking out about that. But yeah, man, art and content definitely mesh very well.
So what about the challenges? Because I face these challenges of like making enough time for your own stuff and making sure that, you know, Scott's content is up to your standards, like top notch. Like, is that overwhelming at times? Like, how do you balance that out to make sure you get both?
For sure, it helps because it's definitely my like, not quote unquote 9 to 5. So I am going into an office, you know, 40 hours plus a week. So it helps to have that divide and being somewhere that full time. Now, that being said, with this quarantine thing, I'm at home, so it's a whole different ballgame. I don't get to be around them. I have to rely on all the content I previously had and was laid out for me. So, finding time, it's just discipline on trying to set those hours for yourself. And
dude, discipline is the hardest thing. Still, 11 years later, I just like, some days I don't want to do. I know exactly what I have to do. I don't want to do any of it.
Yep, I've believe me, I've been 3 weeks working from home right now, and I'm now kind of like finding myself like I still have plenty of work, plenty of stuff to do, but sometimes like I can't help but have my mind drift. But that's just from being here for so long. But
well, and I'm sure being a creative too, you're like, oh hey, here's a rabbit hole. This would be cool. Let's do this, and then you're like, oh dang, an hour's gone by.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Well, I mean that's the. The cool thing about technology is we have notes on our phones. So like literally if you have a moment, you're at work, just write it down or take that screenshot of whatever you saw on Instagram and write a little note to yourself. So then you kind of keep that spark alive. So when it is time for you to have that time for yourself, you can do it.
So I've been pretty fortunate because the space I work at is about a mile away from my apartment.
There you
and
go.
So there's already like no people in Winston, and everybody who does come to the space here, which is a max of like 5 people, we're like, all right, no new friends, no different people. Like if you've already been coming here, you can keep coming here.
There you go. It looks sick over there, man. I've seen like a couple pictures and then Max's stuff. I'm like, dude.
Yeah,
it looks awesome.
Yeah, when you get a chance, well, when the travel ban, it's not really a travel ban, but let's just say the self-imposed travel ban's over, you gotta come out and shoot some content.
Definitely. I know Scott had talked about that at some point, like going out there and hanging with you guys, and that'd be awesome.
Yeah, because he's already been 3 times, I think. I think it's been 3 times.
Nice.
So here's the other question I want to get to. So talking about working from home, we've been doing it for 3 straight weeks now. What are some productivity tips or lighting tips, anything that you could give people listening on how they could make their stream look better, how they could just make themselves more presentable on, like this webcam, or, how they do their work?
Well, if you have some income coming in, take some time and look on YouTube and really just maybe see what's an affordable lighting setup for you. You know what I mean? Like there's tons of cool lighting kits you can get nowadays. And then figure out how to maybe make your background look as cool as you can. Just try and be unique to whatever it is whatever content you're trying to put out. And then also sit down, really think, really make a plan. Take this time to actually look at your feed. Like, are you doing the best to make yourself look as presentable as possible for people to really be like, wow, who is this? Really just make a plan for yourself. Take the time to just be as creative as possible and use it to your advantage.
And we have ample time. We got nothing but time.
Exactly.
Like the way I think about it is, so like I see you on the FaceTime here, and I always just like to pretend like within these confines, it's all just like pushed out of the way, and you've like perfectly cropped some images on the wall. So it's like if you moved your camera a little bit, it would be like either really clean or really different, or maybe you're in a warehouse in some random location. Like that's like, look at that.
Home.
Well, if you're on the podcast, you can't necessarily see it, but basically he's moving the iPhone around to show me. But in my head, I think like, all right, curate that frame, because even if your laundry's everywhere and your apartment's a disaster, that window to the world, you could be wearing pajama bottoms, just wear like a tuxedo t-shirt, because
I'm definitely in sweats.
Yeah.
And don't get it twisted. I definitely composed a painting back here, but that's just because I'm a creative. But for the most part, everything is Yep. But for the most part, everything is always pretty much up like this. So
legit.
Yeah, man. How's how are you doing over there with everything?
I'm doing pretty good. The routine didn't change too much. I did take a week to go up to Maine and visit my dad, and so
you just had him on the podcast, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. That man was born in 1942, so he's seen some stuff. He was telling me about the first time he watched a black and white television, which is the first time he ever watched a television.
Whoa.
He had to like go to the neighbor's house. And so they would have like,
crazy.
you know, only 2 stations, and they'd have to schedule time where hopefully your parents were friends with the neighbor's parents and everybody could come together at one house in the neighborhood and watch Howdy Doody. It's like, yo.
Now I still need to get around to listening to that podcast, but did he ever have any stories about you also being that kid with the camera around? Like, did you ever like get on his nerves or anything about that, or was he very encouraging about it? Like, what was that story with you two?
He's always been real encouraging, and he, you know, he's a very like cool, calm and collected person. He's like Mr. Magoo. Like if the hose is rolled up, he like could care less what you're up to. Yeah. So he's got, you know, his little quirks, but he used to be in a garage band, like an early garage band. Like they played the Playboy Club in the early 60s in New York City. So he's kind of just been like, yeah, if you want to be creative, you should do it. But I'm realizing now that I want to film him more, because I haven't filmed him a bunch, because that's, again, like saving it for posterity or down the road. Like I'd love to have this video asking my dad questions preserved for when I have kids, so they can be like, wow, you have all this footage of grandpa. That's so cool.
Man, that's awesome.
But like
see my
it, like, you know, intentionally, right? So like thinking, like doing like, all right, I'm interviewing you, question and answer, let's go.
I think that's a great idea. I think I would like to do that at some point, just to have that for even for myself, like interview my mom, interview my dad, or just people that are still around. And you know, that's gonna be great just for you, or even for them to tell their stories. You know, everyone can get something out of another story. I was laughing at that a little bit. My parents they are the complete opposite of me, you know, like they understand the creativeness, but they don't, like, they're encouraging, but they're just like, okay, yeah, you do you.
You making money? Good, okay.
Thanks, guys. Oh man, that has been a roller coaster, dude. The creative income hasn't always been the best, especially as, you know, graphic designer. Like I've hopped from job to job, and it's gotten better as years have gone on. But that's another thing about being creative, is you have to be mentally strong, especially if this is what you want to do. Like, you know, just be prepared for the roller coaster.
So
depends what route you take.
How long have you been either freelancing or basically being a professional? How long have you been getting paid to make content or things?
It depends on what like for media and this sort of thing. I'm 30 now, so maybe when I was 26 I started, like, I was, well, even maybe a little bit before that, because I had hopped in jobs where I was mostly graphic design, and then the position just got better and better, or the company got better and better, eventually to where I found myself being the art director for that company, that brewing company, and then got
brewing company, cool. What company was that?
Oh man, you don't want to know. They're horrible. They're not good.
Yo, all right, yeah. Fair enough. So I only asked because, like, I had a friend who used to work at Brewbound, and you know, so he would cover like all the breweries, and I found myself working with Brewbound, with BevNet, doing their events in Santa Monica and New York City, and I found myself becoming like a semi-beverage and beer expert. I'd be like, why do I know all this information about craft beer? This is so strange. But you know, I developed like a taste for it, and it's kind of like one of the added benefits of being a freelancer is you get to know about a lot of different things, and it's interchangeable. You don't need to be a subject matter expert. You're like, all right, what are we filming? Where is it? When is it? I can do it. Yeah, that's what it was a lot for my the beginning of my graphic design career, because I mean, I'd have people come to me for logos, and I'm like, hey, what's your business? Like, tell me your story. Well, let me figure who you are. Like, just tell me about it. I want to know more about the product, your business, and you just learn all this extra knowledge. And it's so funny because you can even pull stuff for what you're using now as a reference or anything years down the line. It's so weird. So you were telling me briefly about you worked for a beer company doing some graphic stuff. What was like, so tell me the best and the worst experience as a freelancer. Obviously leaving out the names of those involved. Unless you ended on mutual terms, in which case, feel free to share.
Some of the best for freelancing, I guess that would come for like right now, like me as a painter, like, because I guess that is technically freelancing.
It is, totally, even if it's commission.
Yeah, that's what it is. So each painting kind of gets better and better. My Instagram grows slowly but surely, and it's so weird, dude, the people that you're able to just get a hold of like that, through social media. So I've not to toot my own horn, but I've had some people like from shows that I like that I reached out. Like I watched this Gary Vee video and he was like, how many people are you reaching out to give your product or, get yourself out there? And so I was like, you know what, let me give that a shot. And sure enough, some of these people wrote me back and now I'm in the middle of making pieces for them. So it's like,
that's
oh
so
my God.
Legit, man.
Yeah. So
it's probably cool to get the message back. You're like, oh, they responded.
Totally. And so like, that's like one of the better things that's kind of happened. And it's like, I don't even care if I get paid for the piece. It's like just the fact that I get to do it for someone that I admire. And that also puts new challenges on me because maybe it's not something that I would necessarily go out and paint. I'm trying to paint for them. And so that's kind of cool. And then for one of the worst experiences for freelance, I mean, weddings get paid, like you get paid like really well to do weddings and they're fun in the moment. And then sometimes I feel like it's like homework after a while.
It is homework. And then you get more homework and more, and you're like, I don't know the dynamics of this family and I left this person out, or there's too much of this. I'm like, just keep the footage. I don't want to do anything with it.
Oh my gosh, you have how many times I've felt like doing that. Like, here, just take it. Dude, can you do better?
Turn the tables on them. I did probably 3 weddings. Yeah, 3 weddings. One of them was my cousin's and the other 2 were paid. And I was like, never again. And they were all great experiences, but I hated that stress. I'm like, this is not my wedding day. I don't want that stress on me.
Yeah, I've done like 4. I've learned something new from every single one, but at the same time, like you said, I'm like, dude, if I miss this moment or if I mess up this, just shot, like, I can't redo it, but...
Yeah, I know, you get one chance of all the things, like you gotta capture the moments. I think the shooting for me was the most stressful because I'm like, all right, we gotta get this shot. And I had maybe one other person there with me who at the time was just doing the photos. And I'm like, oh man, I got my camera set up. I hope it's rolling. I hope the audio's good. Like tell me about, being a one-man band. What are some like technical things you run into? Tell me about the balancing act of like being creative, but making sure that the technical quality is flawless.
So I guess that would tie into like what I'm doing right now for Scott.
Totally.
Exactly. So like one man, like it couldn't be more of a perfect example of being in Atlanta, like when I met you for the first time. Like I just tried to do my best. I've never been to an event like that before. I'm talking about We Live 2020. And I'm just trying to run and gun. Just do the same thing like I would as if I was shooting like one of my concerts for my clothing company. Okay, like make sure I get, A, B, C, D shots, get, B-roll, get this and that. So it's just trying to have the best mental checklist you can, and also a physical checklist, of course, on your phone. Like make sure you do your due diligence. And then... especially if you're at an event like that, you gotta try and just carve out some time and like even if it's just 5 to 10 minutes, sit down on your laptop. Like I think you saw me there. I was just like on the ground. I was just like, okay, let's get something on Instagram.
Buy the power outlet.
Yeah, exactly. Find an outlet, make it happen. It's just trying to think of all your past events. You're gonna learn something from every time you go out and shoot. So it's just trying to pull every tool you can out of your tool bag to make yourself the most successful content creator you can. You know, pull out all your bag of tricks if you're able to.
I think, yeah, event coverage is just tough in general. I find it difficult to pull Max away for 5 minutes when I'm like, hey, I need you to say something to the camera, because I know in your head you're like, I'm doing the edit, I'm like filming all this stuff, okay, I see it coming together, all right, I'm missing something though. So if you can pull that person away, you get the context. It's like, that's so hard to get.
That's what happened there. I had to pull Scott away at least for like 30 minutes. We went outside. It was freezing cold, by the way. And it was like, there was a cool mural that, oh my God, Greg Mike, I think, had the mural that was outside of that hotel. And I was just like, hey, Kay, walk, say this. I was like, just thinking of every single thing I would need.
You're like directing and saying, okay, we're gonna do some blocking, you're gonna have some lines. Like, whoa, wait, I can stand and talk. You want me to walk and talk? Come on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. So many parallels, I love it.
I've always been dealing with that. So in my past life, I worked at a semiconductor company in Silicon Valley, in San Jose, and I'm working with engineers, like electrical engineers, like the nerdiest dudes on the planet. And the only way I could trick them into getting good coverage, good footage, I guess, because we'd go into this little studio and I'd be like, all right, I'd have a script on a prompter, but when they saw that red light, they would fall apart. Like they couldn't do more than 2 lines. So I would just be like, all right, we're just gonna do a practice. And I would always roll camera without saying anything. And I'd always get the best performance during the practice.
Yeah, and just being encouraging, that's, what I found. Like Scott's pretty good. He's really good at being on camera, actually, but it's just like other people being in the office, like if I have to get shots, it's just trying to lighten the mood a little bit. I like to joke around a ton, so that helps. And
I feel like that fits in that office. Everybody seems pretty easygoing.
Oh, totally. And especially once they kind of see your editing style and see what you're doing, they're like, oh, I get what you're going to do, so.
They want the confidence to see that you're gonna make them look good.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I get that. So have you run into a situation where you've had a client and you're trying to win your way because you're like, look, I know you don't get it, but this is going to be the best way to do this. Like, I hear what you're saying, but you got to just trust me. Just let me finish this.
Mm-hmm. Oh, totally. I've had that on a numerous number of
even with like designs.
Designs, regular jobs, like. And I'll do it both ways too, because I know in the end it's gonna be a situation where they're gonna want to go with my version of the product, because I have X, Y, and Z, influence, and so I'm just like, look, man, here's your idea, and then I bring them mine, and then cool. 9 times out of 10 they are like, I get it. They just want to they want to feel like they're heard.
That is probably the most important thing. So any creators out there, like, make sure your client is heard, whether they're way off or not. Like, if they just know that you're listening to them, they'll end up, like I'm sure you've had in many situations, they'll give you full creative control. They're like, nah, I trust you. Once they trust you, you don't really have to have that conversation anymore.
Of course, you need to make sure that you're really embracing like their vision and what they're looking to get out of you, and just really kind of like be on their team, and then just take it from there and just try and crush it.
I feel that. So what would you say, outside of, covering your means, making money, eventually having a nice retirement, like, what's your mission with creating content? So I'll tell you, like, mine is, I just want to document and like be a fly on the wall. I want to capture like history. So I think of like Walt Disney and like going through Disney Plus, watching all those Imagineering docs. I'm just like, man, there's so much footage I bet I still haven't seen, and I want to have that archive when I'm older.
The Imagineering series, side note, was so awesome. I couldn't
Phenomenal.
Get it. I want more. I want more of that. Like,
I watched it like 3 times because I'm like, maybe I missed something. Maybe like I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Me for content, I guess I don't really have like a huge giant goal when it comes to my stuff, because my stuff more goes along the lines of art and painting. I guess it'd be cool to do some type of like, I love documentary style, and especially for like, so one of my favorite band of all time is Blink-182. And
love Blink.
If any of you have seen the DVD, the Urethra Chronicles Part 2, I can like quote that entire thing. And it's pretty much just like a little documentary. It's set up with like...
That's so specific. I love it.
It's set up with just like, you know, not even high quality cameras, dude. Like, and they're just drunk the entire time, like talking about the band, touring and stuff like that. And then the whole thing is just them messing around, them being them. So like... That would be like a dream project to do, like part 3, but
like part 3, legit.
Yeah, so like, but I love that style, and so I guess going back to one of your earlier questions, that is a big adopter into my creative style and like cuts and things like that. But so I mean, I'd love to do some type of fun documentary with a subject, you know, that I'm truly passionate about. So I would say that.
Got it. So it sounds like you're still adding, because I'm always adding things to the creative bucket list that I didn't know.
Oh.
Like I did that book with Ortiz, and like
that was amazing.
Just a random thing from Craigslist, and I'm like, oh cool, let me add it to the bucket list and check it off at the same time.
Oh yeah, if you're talking about creative bucket list, there's definitely like a bunch. Like so that working for that brewery, I got to knock up one off my list. I've always wanted to design a beer can, so I actually got to do it
legit.
With the captain of the Ducks, Ryan Getzloff. So he had
that's sick.
Yeah, so he had a charity like golf event, and I got to get together with his people, and I worked on a design, and I didn't get to use the Ducks logo, but I got to use the team like color palette, and so that was awesome.
Okay.
And so like that was a big one that I checked off right there. And as I go throughout the years, just like you said, I'm always kind of picking up stuff. Like I'm seeing other artists. Like the other day I saw some people get these chairs from IKEA, and they like painted on them, made them look all cool. I'm like, I never knew I wanted to paint a chair until right now.
And now you do.
Yeah, it's so weird.
That's great. So creative bucket list is cool. I'm trying to think, you know, where do you see yourself, the typical, like in 10 years, what kind of stuff do you want to be doing? Do you want to be doing a lot of the same stuff? Do you want to be, I don't know, like for me, I want to like shoot a feature. Like I want to do a feature film in the next 10 years. I don't know what it is, but I know I want to do that.
That would be amazing. You know, it's like I don't want to have any self-doubt, because I mean, like I don't feel like I'm that type of person really, but I mean, I don't know if I could do that at that level. I feel like I got the do you ever follow like Kevin Smith at all? Like yeah. I got that gene to be like the energetic guy in the room, like, hey, let's try this, but I'm surrounded by people that are way better than me, but I maybe have like a vision for it, and maybe that's the way I could achieve something of that quality. But in terms of like what I'm doing, I would love for, you know, like my art to kind of take off, because I mean that's something that I will always be in control of. Like, you know, like
that's something I feel like you're gonna do until you're like an old man.
Oh yeah, and that's something that's always gonna kind of evolve as I get older and I evolve, and that's kind of the cool thing. It's like right now a lot of my stuff is built off pop culture. I love pop culture. It's like people that know me best, I quote things all the time.
Yeah, you're making references. Yeah, I'm just like constantly making references. I'm like, who got that one? Nobody? All right, I'll try again.
Exactly. And so I am building up this dialogue in my head of like, okay, that's the other question too with content media. It's like, do I want to say this with this thing? Am I not developed enough? But then sometimes it's like you got to take the risk and do it, and sometimes it's like you're just so in your head that put it out. You're just a fly.
Do you feel like it's that imposter syndrome? Like, I shouldn't do this yet. I'm not ready. Because it's your own standard.
Oh yeah, imposter syndrome for sure. And I feel like even if I were to get to that like level, I don't even know if I could enjoy it to its fullest, because I'd probably be like, I'm not good enough to be here.
Yeah, I think that would was the coolest feeling with the Ortiz book. I'm like, I'm on the cover of this book, like my name's on the cover, like the book is on the shelf next to Tom Brady's like TB12 method. I'm like, yeah, I kind of made it. This
bro.
Is sweet.
That's awesome.
I can like, yeah, thank you. Like, I'm like, I can enjoy this. This is like sick. I walked into a bookstore and I'm like, oh, the book is on the shelf. I'm like, cool. Did that one, like moving on. And I think for folks like us where, you know, creative doesn't always make the most money, those things will keep me going for years.
Totally. Yeah, they'll fuel your soul for sure. And it's, you know, that's the thing though, like this thing can be, you know, I guess just financially doable if you do it right. And especially in the beginning, like don't be afraid to have a bunch of side hustles and just try different things until you figure out what's going to work for you, and then build off that. You know, maybe get decently good at like 3 things, and then maybe drop one of those things later on down the road and just build and just make yourself better.
Well, now's the time. Like, we have so much time. Everybody in the US, everybody around the world, you know, shelter in place. So what's a skill that you're working on now to try to get better at? So you come out of this and you're like, all right, I either had a brand new skill or I improved something that I've been meaning to work on.
A lot of my brush work and trying to be as clean as possible, because a lot before in my early work and what I do now is I use acrylic markers. Like, I'm good with acrylic markers. Like,
interesting. Didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, man. It's like I can do that all day long and it looks great. But then at the same time, there are certain paints and just certain things that I want to get with a brush, because there's like no substitute for good brush work. You know, so there's that. There's 3-dimensional aspects that I want to bring to my art. So like in the background, there's a Ninja Turtle painting right here.
So sick. Love Ninja Turtles.
Thank you. Yeah, so like I have the ooze there, right? And it's flat in this iteration. But I was like, okay, what if I use like a gel medium and not clump it, but almost make it so it's like a 3D ooze, right? And then, okay, so make sure you do like your samples. Just do like a small version of it, so by the time I go to my big version, I'm good to go. So that's kind of something I'm trying to figure out and bring to my art to make it really stand out and be like, holy shit, like that's different.
See, I like that example because it's not so general. You're like, I'm gonna do a specific technique, I wanna test it, see if it works, a little trial and error, versus I'm just gonna paint 5 more paintings. Like, I hear a lot of people, and I feel like this quote gets misused. It's like, it's the 10,000 hours, right? That rule,
yeah.
Which is like about 5 years, 9 to 5. But I always say, like, look, if you were to shoot a jump shot the wrong way, 10,000 hours, you're still gonna have a terrible jump shot.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe you would have got a good workout and like you're more fit, but you're not gonna be a good shooter if you don't adjust course as you're doing those. So that's the thing you need to add to the nuances. Yeah, put up your reps, but if your reps, if you have a bad technique, you're not getting better. You
need to have a high, what would be the word? You need to have a just have high goals for yourself and like where you want to be. Hold yourself to a higher standard. That's what I'm trying to get at.
And I feel like, especially with painting, because I've done a little bit and man, it is difficult. And I just am like, I don't really have the patience for it. And I'm just like, you know what? Like, I can respect this. This is hard. Cool. I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna move on.
That's one thing I'm very bad at and been trying to be better at with patience, because, you know, like I really want something to be done, but then it's like, oh, okay, so this thing I thought was gonna be super cool, I have to wait like 3 days for this thing to dry, you know?
Oh, see, that's a practical thing nobody would think about. Oh, can't you just make me a painting tonight? It's like, I mean, yes, but what kind of painting?
Exactly, like, so I'm working with a gallery right now, and they really want resin. They really want these like resin finishes, and they look super nice when they're done, but it's like, it's a 1-in-1 mixture, but if you don't mix it properly, your whole painting is And sorry, can we curse?
Yeah. No,
oh, okay, cool.
Bro.
Sorry. So yeah, then the whole painting. And
so talk me through the resin part, like, cause talk me through that process. Like, how long does that take to get the mixture right?
So mixing it and pouring it and all that, you can do in a night. So as the air bubbles come up, you gotta kind of use like a chef blowtorch and really get those things out of there, because you don't want them to sit when it gets hardened. And it just depends. It depends on what brand you're using. Normally, it's dry touch within 24 hours, and like to really be like to the touch, like to the best of its ability, sometimes it's 48 to 72 hours, where you just gotta let it sit like under a box with where no dust can get to it. So it's like, you know, you really want to get to it, but you gotta be patient.
Dang. All right, so there's a process to it. Yeah, I mean, you know, the patience totally comes into it. So, you know, with
that's the same oh, sorry, I was gonna say that's like the same thing with editing, man. I mean, like, you may want this like you have this big project you want to do, or this video you want to put out, but then, you know, pace yourself and make sure you're good. You have the time to sit down and edit and appreciate the process, and, you know, like, have some good music playing or something while you're doing it, and it'll be worth it in the end. But patience. Yeah.
Being able to appreciate the process is a rare luxury. Like, we're churning videos out, like sometimes 2-3 videos a day, and now my team's expanded. But yeah, like, for personal projects, that's when I get that chance to be like, all right, I want to like go through all the footage. Let me make some selects. Let me find the best shots, because I could make a video quickly and I could find usable shots, but maybe it's not the best set of frames. And like with a movie, you know, like a feature, you get to sit with it, you get to go through everything, do a soundtrack. You know, I've done some short films from 10 to 20 minutes, and even that was compressed to like a couple of weeks of editing, and which is like 14 days or 10 days, like not a lot of time to really appreciate it. You're just like, all right, is it technically good? Is it like totally fucked up? Like, I remember sitting in the crowd of like 1,000 people at this Scary Cow Film Festival in San Francisco, and I'm like, the movie's playing, and I'm like, I know I've watched it 20 times, but I just swear, like, I feel like something's gonna go wrong that I missed, and I'm just like, oh, you know, like miserable.
It's
like,
just eating at you, yeah.
Sitting there watching it, and it's fine, and then I'm like critical because like the jokes there's not enough air for people to laugh, and it's overlapping the next joke, and I'm like, something I didn't think about. And I think to bring it back to the business side, our special ability as content creators is take all that into consideration and be able to do multiple jobs, have multiple hats, and still deliver a product for Scott or Max or our client, and they don't need to ever worry about those things.
Absolutely.
They seem insignificant to them, but to us, it's like monumental. Like, if you're just missing audio, like, yo, it's ruined.
Oh yeah, there have been luckily there haven't been too many, but there have been times where I've stressed over like little edits or just like things, or like this type of jump cut or whatever, but then it totally blows by, you know, not really, but like Scott, because our stuff is pretty simple, but like other clients, like for especially the wedding videos, were something I stressed about, and it was like, oh, okay, that wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Great.
They're like, hey, that was great. You're like, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. Sure.
So what do you want to leave the folks with? Maybe some parting words, like, I don't know, tips, or, oh, I know. How about some films? How about some movies? You mentioned the Blink-182 doc that I haven't seen, that I gotta go find.
Yeah,
some stuff that, like,
you can find it all on YouTube.
Some good stuff people can watch with all this downtime.
Man, just if you want to get motivated for anything, I always recommend just Gary Vee's Instagram.
Facts.
Like, he has something that could relate to anybody. But as for me in particular, especially you being a baseball guy, Moneyball is one of my favorite inspirational movies.
I love Moneyball. It's always good.
Gosh,
every time I watch it.
I pick up something new every time, and I think Brad Pitt's character has a really good bit in there and quote with Jonah Hill where he's like, which this, you know, could go for with any type of entrepreneur. He's like, do you believe in this thing or not? And he goes, yes. He goes, okay, what are we doing? Don't explain yourself to anybody.
I love that part. Yeah, they just trust the process, man.
Trust the process.
There's so many good moments in there, like when he explains to the guy playing David Justice, he's like, no, I'm not paying you like 13, 14 million. Like the Yankees are paying you 8 to not play for the Yankees. And he's like,
yeah,
dang. Like,
totally.
That's crazy. All right, where can people find you and see your art? So your Instagram.
Yeah, so my Instagram is @CodePaints, CODE paints spelled normally. Same thing on YouTube. All my other platforms are pretty much the same. If you can't find it there, my name is Cody Flores, so there's that. My address is No, I'm just kidding.
If you want to send me cool stuff.
yeah, not yet. I'm not on a Casey Neistat level yet, but we'll get there.
Legit, man. Well, I'm glad we connected finally, and hopefully the next time we do this, it's in person.
That would be awesome. That'd be amazing.
Sooner than later. All right, everybody, I'm Dave. I've been your host, and I Am Media. Peace out.